primary ignition.
What's up, guys? I'm Emily Swallow. If you're looking at this, you're watching the Virtual Cantina Network. This is the way.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second news desk as we are on the road to Celebration Japan 2025. My name is Spencer. I'm one of the lead admins for the Virtual Cantina Network, as well as the world's largest Star Wars Celebration fan page with close to 68,000 members worldwide. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight and welcome you to our news desk. I am brought tonight with a longtime member, Carl Nordstrom, who has been a member, I would say probably since day one, right around the Orlando time. But I know Carl was at our 2019 Bunta Eve, we call it something else, back at Brando's in Chicago. And first and foremost, Carl, welcome to the Virtual Cantina Network. It's nice to have you on the show.
Konnichiwa, Bachuro Cantina.
Yeah, what he said. For those
That's,
playing at home,
that's hello from Virtual Cantina.
For those playing at home, he said hi. Before we get into a couple of things, if you like your questions answered and you want them on the screen, what we recommend you do is to please connect your StreamYard to your Facebook account. So go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and we'll be able to see your name and give you props for everything that you do. And, we'll have a bunch of, this will be interactive. I'll be asking Carl a bunch of questions. You can ask questions as well. And then we'll do some plugs for, some of the shenanigans going on with Japan and also with the Virtual Cantina family trip, which is happening, which I can't believe, next month. I can't believe we're in June already. It feels just like yesterday that we were just, starting with all the plans for everything. But let's take you back to April 2023, last day of Celebration London. I was actually sitting in the final panel, sitting with AJ Hansen and the governor, John Notman. Now, the rumor going around con, the entire con, was we were going back to Orlando. All weekend long, even DJ Elliott was, teasing us the entire week. We're going back to London. We're going back to London. We're going back to Orlando. We're going back to Orlando. And then as I'm walking onto the floor, I'm getting text messages from people saying, we got announced for Japan. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to, make a note of that until I actually see Elliot make the announcement on the page. We're in there. Elliot announces Japan, and all three of us looked at each other like, well, okay, we're going to Japan. I don't know, what was your thought process when you first saw the, when you first heard Japan?
The announcement, it was pretty much it was a sign for me. It was I was trying to plan Japan for probably a year before that, and it was a big sign for me just to see it's going to be there. And it's like, oh man, the two things I love the most are going to be in this amazing country. And, I have to make this work. And it is a lot of planning, but it is a lot of fun.
So would you say that as soon as you heard the announcement, or let me just rephrase that, either you heard the announcement or you saw right on our page, like as soon as the announcement was made, we changed the graphic on our page and took obviously a picture from the actual hall at the O2 that it was Celebration Japan. Was that when you first realized that you want to go to Japan, or do you like was there a couple of days, or was it just not even a thought in your mind that you're going to Japan?
It was gonna happen. There's no way that you're gonna have celebration in this kind of country, and I'm not gonna try to go. So I really got the wheels in motion quickly as soon as that announcement came out. So, and I've been moving ever since.
So for you, I'm sorry. So our first celebration, Carl, are you there?
Yep.
Or am I frozen?
I think you were frozen.
Oh, when was your first celebration?
My first one was Anaheim back in, what was that, 2006? 8?
Oh, really? So you were going all the way back then. You're not talking about 15. You're talking about further from there.
I think it was 8. I think it was 2008. Because it was, well, when did Carrie pass away? She passed away the year.
Carrie passed away 16, right before. So the last London, she did that, and then was supposed to do Orlando, and she died right before Orlando.
Yep.
So Anaheim was Ray says 15.
Yep, it was 15 because I missed her at Orlando. I was like, oh, her line is crazy. It's out of control. I got Mark, but it was a bad decision on my part, but that happens.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why in Chicago I grabbed Peter. Because after, my first celebration was 2017 Orlando, and we just lost Kenny. And I'm like, and we just lost Carrie. And I'm like, oh my God. So grab the OT when you can. I was like, I'm grabbing Peter now. I mean, luckily for me, one of my favorite stories is that back in 2019, the way Topps did it with Epic Ops is they had timed autographs. And Con ended around 4 p.m. on the Monday.
Yep.
And I had a 3:30 time with Peter. So when he passed 2 weeks later, I screen capped my calendar on my phone because I'm OCD, I checked all that. And then I have one of the last ever Peter Mayhew's signed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like now on my pop. Ray was just saying, good call on Peter. He got Kenny in London for the same reason. So I'm telling you guys right now, if Ian, Anthony, Billy D, anybody OT shows up in Japan, get them now. I don't care if you have one and you need something else, because you might not have the opportunity to get them again. But we're going to have a lot of questions and a lot of things we're going to talk about tonight. So if you have any questions, once again, sync up your StreamYard and as we talked about a few seconds ago. And the way you would do that is you would go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and we'll be able to see your name like we just saw Ray's a few seconds ago. So Carl is a member, and he's been planning ever since Japan was announced. So you would say your research has started about a year ago. Yep. What was the first stuff that you started researching when you realized that you were going to Japan?
Just culture, really. I mean, just like finding out, what I'm going to be walking into. And I really wanted to be okay because I'm staying in Japan for a few weeks. So I wanted to be able to explore, and I wanted to be able to know the neighborhoods and know what it is expected over there, because it is different. It's not the same as our country by any close proximity. It's a very different world.
Sure, I completely understand that. So the first conversation we're going to talk about is money. Obviously, we're talking about the yen, which is obviously different from the US dollar or the British pound or the euro per se. But the rates we're going to talk about right now it seems to be roughly $1 US to about 153 yen. And this is the going rate right now. the first thing I'm going to personally recommend to everybody that's watching right now is go to your Google Play Store or go to your App Store and download an app called XE. Now, I've had this before London, and it's an incredible app that on the spot you get updated rates of what you're at, the exchange rate is going to be at that particular time when you're doing that. And that actually will come into help later on when we talk about booking, getting yen out at the ATM versus your bank, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just say hypothetically, and I know you're going for a good amount of time, you say that you're going to go for 1 week. Is it a heavy cash country, or are we talking it to be heavy plastic? I know we always say cash is king, but at the same time,
So anything that is old school in Japan, anything that is mom and pop run, anything that is not a chain, those are the places where, one, you'll probably feel the most uncomfortable walking in just because, well, they might not be English friendly, but that's half the adventure. Give it a shot. And then it's a matter of most places in Tokyo. If you go into a restaurant, you go into obviously any convenience store, you're always going to be able to use your cards, and you're going to be able to get the exact rate for that day and that moment in those places. So I would always keep some cash on me. I think I've started to grab yen from my bank, just order now and then. So I'm figuring maybe a couple 100,000 yen. That'll do me okay to take off, and I'll feel good that that's in my pocket if I need it.
So let's just talk US dollars for right now as opposed to yen. How much do you think that somebody who is walking right off the plane in either Narita or Haneda, how much would you say that Beth just is asking the right question that we should be asking right now, and this is where I'm going to go to. How much do you think getting off the plane we should have in our pocket before we decide that we're even going to tap the ATM machine? US dollars.
I would feel comfortable with 100,000 yen.
But US dollar wise,
So yeah, that's like a few $100.
Okay.
Because that way, if you need, again, you're not probably going to need it too much around Tokyo if you stay around Tokyo. Mm-hmm. If you start going out into the neighborhoods and start going down streets that, mom and pop stuff, you're going to need that yen. So.
Okay. So figure, to everybody right now, what we recommended when we go to London is probably have about between $300 to $500 US dollars on you in British pounds. Probably, I would say, talking to Carl right now, go there with that. One thing that I'm probably going to do relatively soon is just take it out in chunks like 100 US dollars. Get a paycheck, go to the bank, make the exchange, and then once I get 300 to 500 US dollars in yen, putting aside an envelope. Is that pretty accurate to what you're thinking?
Yep. And that's pretty much what I'm going to have on me when I go. And I'm going to be going because, again, you can always go to a convenience store. You can always go to any of the stations, the train stations that are just everywhere, and you can get money. So always know that there is always a way to get yen. It's everywhere in Japan.
So I saw a great video that one of our members put up on our Facebook page that, first and foremost, do not get yen at the airport. You will get raped on the rate, first and foremost. But if you go to a 7-Eleven or I think it's Green Bank or something like that, that Carl was about, is that you'll be able to not only check the rate at that time, but you can take out money in yen, and you'll be able to take out money in US dollars as well. The first thing they recommend is do not take out US dollars at a Japanese ATM. Because not only will you get hit with a rate, but you will also be hit with your fees. So check your bank to find out. I know certain banks will reimburse your foreign transaction fees. So make sure you
Yep.
find out your bank. But there'll be two buttons that'll come up. They'll say, let's just say 100,000 yen or $326.85 in US dollars. Never touch the US dollar one. And if you ever have a question about that, use your XD app before you go in while you're looking to make sure that the rate is there. But one thing we learned in London is that if you're taking out in bulk, you're going to get a better exchange rate for taking out, like, say, 500 US dollars than you would for, say, for example, 100 US dollars at an ATM. So if you're going to take out in bulk. Would you say that's pretty much still accurate as we do in London?
Yeah, and you got to, keep in mind too, you're going to a convention where it's the same rules as we have here in America, where if you walk up to a table and say, "Hey, I got yen," they're probably going to give you a better deal on something versus using credit cards. So keep that in mind.
I mean, go to a con in general, and I'll say this, if you're going to Comic-Con or you're going to Celebration, cash is always king. That's the first thing to say. Also, you always want to be very wary about, we hear stories at every celebration of someone getting skinned on the floor there. So make sure that your card is, you have good fraud protection as well. I know when I put another $20 on my SWCJ card, which we're going to talk about in a second, my app, it declined you first, and then my app quickly is like, did you try to make a reservation from Japan? I know when I booked my Celebration tickets and hit click, it declined, and then 2 seconds later, my app went off. And I'm like, oh my God, I literally just talked about that in the group, letting the bank know, but they seem to be very much, pretty on the ball of everything. That's great, which is fantastic. Once again, we're live right now on the Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, and on X. If you're watching us, that doesn't sound right. That's never on X. If you have questions for Carl, please ask them. We will respond in kind. One of the most recent questions, let me just go look right now. Ray just put it happened to him in 17. Doesn't surprise me. So very much right there alone, you want to make sure that you're taking care of cash is always king. So let's first talk about travel. One of the things I talked about before was on the page, the SWCJ card and the Pasamo card. Now, Pasamo is very much Samsung based, whereas SWCJ is very much iPhone based, which I actually hooked it up to my wallet on my iPhone, and I can switch it to my watch if I want to. Besides the fact that one is heavy iPhone based, the other one is Galaxy based, are the principles pretty much the same?
They are. More places take the SWCJ cards than Pasmo, especially on trains. So you kind of want to try to get a SWCJ card if you can. Now, what had happened was they didn't have any, for a while, they were not letting foreigners come in and get new SWCJ cards because I think it was more of like a chip issue, like there's not enough chips going around. So, but they said by the time next year rolls around that should all be fixed. So you'll probably be able to get yourself a SWCJ card again, like say in the airport or in a train station. You probably will be able to get one. It stinks being a Android user because you don't have the accessibility to just put it on your phone. So literally, Spencer can walk into a train station right now, put his phone down on the gate will open, and he'll just go. So,
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I went overseas. I think when Amanda and I went to Mexico, and literally it was right after that time when they said galaxies blow up. They literally said at the Cancun airport, there was a sign that says, if you have a Galaxy phone, you need to either get rid of it or turn it off for the duration of the flight. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, I know we're very much in a Mac world. I mean, I get that. But yeah, like I have my wallet hooked up to my Suki card as well as my watch if I want to, and just tap that, which is, yes, exactly, Jeff. Exactly. So there's no real difference except for one has pretty much a hard copy card as opposed to the other. This is a question from Beth. Money-wise, also just pre-save for regular expenses now. Start selling 10, 50% of your week. Yes, absolutely. Now, one of the things I know, like, for example, we have a member named Kyle Dobbins, who you might see on our pages a lot, talking about savings. He saves from celebration to celebration. Literally has his own like account. I'm gonna pretty much say this right now, and maybe Carl, you can enhance that. Because of the exchange rate, the most expensive things that you're going to pay for your entire trip are your flights and your hotel, and that your food is going to be cheap. Is that pretty much accurate?
Very cheap. So literally the most expensive part of going to Japan is the flight and sometimes the hotel. That is literally your biggest expenses. Food, you're going to be able to eat on like good food. You're going to be able to eat on like each meal $10. Like that's it. Like you'll do well, like really well. So don't worry too much. It's literally the act of just getting there. You get there, things will be easier because it's just the money part of it is real high to get there. And it's real high sometimes to stay in a hotel. I mean, a lot of the hotels right now are blocked out still just because of celebration. You can't even look at them. So
right. So we're going to talk about that in just a second, but let's talk about the next thing on thing is you mentioned there is a tax-free trick.
Yes.
I heard about this quite a bit. It just, obviously in my research, because I researched incessantly. What is this? What is this tax-free tip that you recommend?
So in most department stores or most large stores, like camera stores, a camera store in Japan is like Best Buy. So it's got floors and floors of electronics and all kinds of gadgets, you name it. So if you see a camera store and it's giant, go on in. And usually there is at the checkout, you can show your passport. Sometimes if you have a passport card, that'll be okay. But if you show your passport, you're going to be able to shop in most department stores tax-free. Just kind of nice.
So you recommend carrying your passport with you as opposed to, like, for example, when I was in London, I put it right into the safe and I didn't touch it until I left the hotel.
Right. Some passports you can get that card that kind of shows like your identification on the card. I know that works. I don't know if I'll do some little bit more research and see if they would take like a photo of, because maybe they don't, they understand you don't want to be walking around with your passport in the city. But it is a good hack to save, especially if you're buying a bunch of stuff to ship back or whatever. It's a great way to save some money. So
I know for example, in Massachusetts, we have the real IDs. For those who don't know, Carl lives 20 minutes away from me in Boston. Do you think that, I know, for example, I can put my real ID in at Logan Airport and it almost just, I can get on that flight or wherever, just like a passport. Right. Do you think that's something that you're thinking might be similar, or?
It might work. Like I said, I know showing a passport will work because it shows you're a traveler and, they want to get your business. So they give you a pass for tax-free. Literally, if you go on like YouTube and look for tax-free trips for, tax-free tips for Japan, you'll see it. There'll be lots of videos on how to do it. Like you walk in, you talk to customer service, and they give you a little pass. So anything you buy will be tax-free.
So Joan by the name of Brad Williams, how you doing, Brad? Just said that you're required to carry your passport with you at all time in Japan. Have you heard that in your research?
I haven't really heard that you're wired. I think that they would like it on you. I mean, if you ever come into a situation where, you know, you did have to speak to the police or you did have to speak to some kind of official, it's nice to have your passport on you. I think probably I will keep my passport on me probably about half the time. So, but I will have lots of digital backups to it and the whole 9 yards. So it'll be well protected.
Would you recommend bringing the passport? Like, for example, I understand if you're traveling around, you're going to, around, the Shooting Sky, the Tokyo Tower, Matahari, Yokohama, Osaka. I understand getting your passport there, but if you're heading over to like Disney or if you're heading over to the con, would you recommend having your passport on you?
I wouldn't. I would, if you're especially going to like the con or Disney, there should be no reason for you to have your passport on you. They're not gonna check for passports at Disney. As long as you got your pass in for that day, you're good to go. They're not going to, their passport. I mean, unless the only thing I could think of is if you were of, barely drinking age, maybe like you'd want to have your passport on you to show what age you are, but that's about
What
it.
is the drinking age over there? Because I know some people, like when they went to London, they had a fantastic time and they were underage US.
I think it's 18 there. So,
yep.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind there alone. Now, moving right along with this, phone, SIM card, Wi-Fi. Now, I've been doing a lot of research, for example, like because a lot of people said they want to rent a Wi-Fi system, to carry on with them, which I'm a little bit wary of myself because it's unprotected. But at least with the Apple network and having certain providers, you have international rates, so you're not going to be in roaming. But let's talk about the fact of getting either a burner card phone or a SIM card over in Japan. Would you say that's primarily, once again, talking about the Galaxy, or are you talking about like Galaxy as well as an iPhone?
So I think for the most part, if you are going to the con and you are going to Tokyo and you're just hanging around that area, there's going to be zero problems with you having your phone and having it switched over to international. Mm-hmm. You're going to have lots of coverage. It's just a matter of if you're leaving Tokyo, if you're, taking a train to Osaka or to Kyoto, that's where things get a little dicey. Now, I personally would get an eSIM, like a set up on my phone, so I could tap into their network, no problem. Okay. That's what I would do. I don't even know if I'm going to do that or not. It doesn't, I don't think I'm only going to Tokyo and Kyoto. So literally the train from one to the other is the only time I'd be out of, connection.
So I'm going to go back and talk about something that Michael Hill over on the VCN right now. How you doing, Michael? Said he heard the secret card for the Apple Wallet that you can't use a Visa to add funds to it. Have you heard this? This is false.
Yep.
Because I actually have my bank, my debit card is a Visa. And I've already, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, every paycheck I have put $20 US, which has been 3,000 yen, up on to my card. And that's the Visa. So Apple, that is not true because I'm 100% Apple network. My phone's an iPhone from there. And we have a little bit of a dignitary right now here. Level Up Leroy, if you know him. Level Up Leroy was the DJ du jour over at Bunta Eve in London. Leroy, awesome to see you, mate. I'm internationally known, but I'm also internationally known to rock the microphone. I'm not going to start rapping for you. Don't worry about that. But it's great to see you right there. So, yes, you can use your Visa. I'm not Rob-based. I'm not here to get that. Hopefully, you all got the reference if you're a child of the 80s and the 90s. So there's that. What do you know about these these personalized Wi-Fi systems that you can rent at the hotel, at the airports, and then return on your way home.
Don't rent them at the airport. Just don't. I know like it'd be nice to have, your own Wi-Fi system. I don't think it's worth it. I just don't think the money is worth it. It can cost you, they'd probably get you for, depending on how long you're going to keep it. You're talking almost yes, is every place we're going to be in for that con going to be overloaded for bandwidth? Yes. But I don't know how bad I'm going to need to have my own highway to get to the internet, inside of that con. That's me. You may be a type of person, I got to be connected at all times. Yeah, all right, fine. You want to jump, $100-$150 on this thing. You got to return it to the place. You got to make sure that the place is open when you get there at the airport. So it's a little bit of logistics. I'd rather just get an eSIM so I can hook into their network.
I can tell you flat out that at the Excel Center, the Wi-Fi was horrible because everybody and their mother was attached to that over, when we were in London. And I don't say that it's probably not going to be that way in Japan, if not more so. Looking at the hall right now, the main panel room from Tokyo Comic-Con's time, which is at the same building, can host up to 10,000 people, which is very similar to what we had in Chicago at the Wintrust. But the convention, the main panel room, the celebration stage had 4,500 capacity in London. So you're talking double the amount of the main panel room in London. So figure that they probably are sold more tickets for Japan than they did sell for London. So just keep that in mind right off the bat. Leroy just said, be prepared for rubbish Wi-Fi at the con. Standard with any convention center with everybody trying to grab a signal. It's true. One of the things that we did on the VCN, which we're going to do in Japan, is our show called Celebration News Network. I'm not going to do the acronym because we don't want to get sued, but Celebration News Network. And you could probably get with that, or Celebration Nightly News. But still, if you figure out the acronym is for that, we don't want to get sued. I don't want to see some desist. But we had a Google Drive that we were uploading videos and pictures on the moment's notice. So when they went live that night in the United States, they had accurate pictures and videos from that night. Everybody's going to be on Facebook. Everybody's going to be on social. If you've been to a celebration or if you've been to any con, they want you to hashtag the crap out of stuff. So everybody and their mother is going to be on social. Influencers are going to be there. So just be wary of that. If you are an influencer and you want to have the Wi-Fi system with you, knock yourself out. I don't know if I'm going to do that. But it's right here. Michael Hill saying, I remember when the Wi-Fi went down in London and some vendors could only take cash. Like you said, cash is king, no matter where you go, especially last day of con, when vendors don't want to ship stuff home, they're going to want to haggle, but they're going to want to haggle cash. They're not going to want to haggle, yen or pounds or whatever. They're going to want to haggle cold, hard cash at that particular time. So just keep that in mind. Okay. This is the subject that's very popular right now. Hotels. Some of us are going early to Japan. I know I am. I know you're coming in a couple of days before celebration. But like, for example, myself, I'm coming in a couple of days before celebration because I know I'm dead tired the last day of con. I came early for London, and my adrenaline wore off by our last dinner as a group, and my face almost planted in my last dinner just because the adrenaline wore off. Con's over. So my assistant was like, okay, you have to get to Heathrow, early in the morning. Now, hotels right now, we just talked about earlier before pre-show, but also during the week, that the Appa Hotel, which is literally next door to the Matahari Messi Convention Center, is already selling out. And with a lot of our people looking to go from there. The Celebration listing has not gone up yet, but slowly but surely, hotels around Chiba are opening up. First and foremost, if we're looking at a map right now, you have Tokyo right over here. You got Disney right in the middle, and Disney Seas, and then you got Chiba. And the closest airport to the hotel is Naruto, but Haneda is closer to downtown Japan. Now, Tokyo. So let's just put this right now. How far would you say Tokyo is from Chiba?
So if you fly into Narita, it's going to be about a probably 40-minute drive from Narita to Chiba, which is where Makahari is. So 30 to 40 minutes. Then if you wanted to take the train into Tokyo any night you're staying in Chiba, that's probably another 30-minute train drive. It's train ride. Right. So everything is based on trains in Japan. So, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to use Uber. Don't.
I know it works there, but it's going to be 3 times the amount of money. Use trains and use public cabs. Do not use Uber unless you are stuck.
And there's the reason why is Japanese cabs and Uber are kind of in a war right now. So every time you get an Uber, you're automatically going to get charged an Uber Black. So no matter where you go, you're going to get charged an Uber Black, which is big money. So until they get that figured, maybe they'll get it figured out before we get there. I don't know, but kind of listen and make sure that, Uber would be great. I'm going to bring an Uber card with me just if I needed it, but I really don't recommend using Uber.
Understandably so. Once again, I want to say thank you very much, Carl, for joining us for this. And if you got questions, obviously, please put them in there. And also, if you are wanting to get your comment up on our page, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook to hook up your Facebook account to the StreamYard so we can actually give you credit and I have you on our page as Facebook user or YouTube user or anything of that nature. So, thank you very much for joining us for everything that we are doing here on the Virtual Cantina Network, whether you're watching us on the YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, or actually on our Facebook page, which, by the way, we're just shy of 68,000 members. Thank you so much for being a member of our group. Let's talk about hotels right now. Like we talked, the Appa Hotel just opened up, and a lot of us jumped on it, including myself, just to make sure that I had a hotel right there. Yep. Would you recommend, let's just say, if you're flying in early or later, doing a couple of days at another hotel and then going to the con hotel or staying in Japan and commuting? Like, I would say other than – no, I don't think there's a celebration at all that I was not 20 minutes away, because even in London, I was in Canary Wharf and I was a good 20-minute ride on the tube.
Yep.
This is going to be the first time that I'm actually probably rolling out of bed and actually could be online to get into the con.
Yep.
Would you recommend being at one of the round hotels for con and not risk being in Tokyo or even staying like at Disney?
I would personally, I don't really want to take a half-hour train ride each day to go into the con. Yeah, you're going to save some money, but I would recommend staying in right near the con there. It's nice. There's a lot of, trust me, when the rooms get released, you'll see there's a lot of hotels that are like, there's 4 other hotels that are literally right around the convention hall. So Appa is the first one who opened up their rooms. They're a little pricey right now. I think when the blocks come out for Celebration, I think you'll get them at a pretty good price. Good rule of thumb for any kind of Japan hotels is 50, 100, 200. So a $200 a night room is really nice. It's a nice place. You're going to be well taken care of. It's high end. $100 a night room is nice. If you can get it, use it. I mean, a lot of really nice hotels. I'm staying in a $100 a night hotel after the convention right on the bay of Tokyo. So I can just take like a 10, 15-minute ride into the city. And then there's literally even $50 hotels, which if you don't care and it's just a bed to sleep in, what do you care? You're going to be sightseeing or running around, and there's a lot of those. I can't guess what Celebration is going to come out with for these rooms. I'm guessing probably maybe about 20-25% less than what we saw for APA right now. So it'll be probably around $150.
So Brad, I'm going to say Brad just posted out that he's spending 77,000 yen per night, which honestly actually breaks out to $459. So I think you might mean for your entire trip for a couple of days, which might be a little bit more accurate. I know when I jumped in, so I'm going earlier and I'm staying at a hotel downtown. And I'm spending, for me and another one of our members, I would say about $900 US for 4 days for the two of us to stay there. And it's just under 1,000 US dollars for 2 beds in a double room over in at APA that we opened up, which I honestly, personally, I thought that it was honestly $1,000 for 4 days to me was cheap compared to not only what I spent in London, which was double that for one person, but also, Carl, both of us are both regulars that go to Disney, and unless we're staying at a All-Star or the Pop, we're paying $250 a night to stay at Coronado Springs or anything. So that, to me, that's like, oh my god, like right there for what I might spend at Disney for 4 days. That's actually pretty cheap. But one of the members right now, sorry, Beth, just say you start looking at chains there. If you recognize there, check your membership alerts. When I was looking at Hilton and Marriott, I saw that there was nothing within walking distance of the Mahama Nessie, that you actually had to take the train from wherever those ones were, and you could do a 15 to a 20-minute, train ride right off the bat. Is this? So you're recommending, if you're able to get one of the big four, including the APA, or there's another APA that's by the cheapest station that some people were saying that they got even cheaper than the one next to the convention hall, would you recommend that if they can jump?
Yeah, I would. I mean, like I said, there's 4 hotels right around this place. When they get released, I'm sure they're going to be, available in all those 4 hotels. So I would simply, I've been in contact with some of the hotels I want to go in, just even by the phone. I've called them, and they're not taking reservations at this time for that date out. So I think it's usually by the end of June, early July is when most hotels can now open up those rooms. So I think that's when you're going to see Celebration get those rooms.
I was thinking that as well, because they just finished up a little while ago Hotel Palooza for San Diego Comic-Con. So I imagine our version of Hotel Palooza could probably open up in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And I know we have members who will like lock in 2 to 3 hotels and then decide right before they charge our card. Or, for example, the thing I chose with APA was pay at the hotel. So I have my reservation and it's free cancellation, but I can pay when I get to the hotel, which is great. So I know exactly how much I need to spend there and fees, etc. are from there. So
Yep.
just make sure that you also know if you're going to go a little bit out there. Keep a track on our page of say, hey, is anybody else potentially staying at this particular hotel? Because obviously we're not going to be an English-speaking country unless you're over there right now. And if you're not fluent in Japanese, you want to make sure that you're also maybe potentially going to run into people who are going to con. I know, like when I was in London, even if I wasn't with the crew leaving it from the same hotel, I know if I jumped on the metro, the tube, that I was going to see people from Celebration on the tube, and I know exactly what stop to get off of because all these other people in full regalia, cosplay, or anything of that nature are going to be there.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this quickly. I know it's all scripted a little bit. There's been a lot of people who are talking. Let's talk about cosplay etiquette right now. There's been a lot of speculation whether or not it's frowned upon to go into public with your cosplay. I did hear there's changing rooms over at the hall that they utilize for cosplay. What have you heard in your – I know you're not a big cosplayer. You're very much an autograph person and collectible person like myself is. But what have you heard about cosplay in public going to con?
I think in Japan, it's probably more – you're going to see more of it than even over here. Just because you got to remember, Japan is based on, their – etiquette for travel and just getting to each place is really high end. So I think there's going to be and we'll talk about it later about like etiquette, but in terms of I think you're going to see a lot of cosplayers coming from hotels and coming from local. Japan and cosplay are that's 1 and 1. So
if they're taking the train, you think that it's not going to be frowned upon? Like, for example, let's just say someone is cosplaying as Hera, and they're going to be head to toe in green makeup.
Yeah.
That's going to be okay, or are they going to be frowned upon?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they'll blink an eye over there. I think that's, if you go through some of the neighborhoods like Akihabara and stuff like that, you're going to see that probably anyway.
Right. Okay. So right now as well, a lot of people are actually booking their flights. I know myself personally, when I committed myself to go to Japan, I downloaded Hopper, not to buy my flight from Hopper, but to look at comparable dates to when we'd be going and see what the rates are then. And then when the dates became available, switched it over on my app so I can gauge on what I'm going to be looking at.
Right.
I know you got a direct flight from Boston Logan to Naruto?
Naruto, yep.
Okay. I know that I am probably going to do a transfer in Canada to go on my flight. But some people are buying right now. Some people are going to wait until the Black Friday deals or when the prices will go down at that time. What's your gauge? I mean, do you think if you have the means to buy now or wait it out, or how what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think I would definitely, if you're trying to get there as in a budget kind of way, I would download the Sky Scanner and just kind of watch, because you're going to start noticing. I'm sure you've noticed it. Is you start noticing the flights and where they each go to. Like I saw the cheapest flight on Skyscanner to Japan was through, I think, Turkey. So, I mean, unless you don't mind having probably an 8-hour layover in Turkey, you could probably save, $600. But I don't know if that's worth it to a lot of us. Like me personally, I just want to get there. I don't want to, it's a long enough flight for most people on the East Coast. You're a little bit better on the West, but it's still a long flight. It's not a quickie. So.
Yeah, when my family lived over in Hong Kong for a while when I was in college, and I would either go from Boston or from New York, JFK, and I would have to stop in Vancouver before I hopped the pole to go to Hong Kong. So I completely understand that whole scenario from there. But would you say that if you have the means and you want to book your flight, book it, but it might drop before the holidays?
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's, I would always keep what I was doing was kind of watching through the airline's website. A lot of times you can see the seat maps, so you can
Right.
start seeing if this stuff starts filling up on you. If it starts filling up and then you got to pull the trigger, pull the trigger. But Skyscanner is gonna kind of alert you to when you can even put like a certain amount, like, hey, if a flight gets below. Most flights on the East Coast direct to Japan are in that $1,800 to $2,000 range. So it'll get a little bit cheaper as you go west, but not a lot. So
Right. Okay. So like you mentioned before, you already booked your flight, so you know exactly when you're going, what dates you're going, how you're getting over to Japan, and it's
right,
really you have a hotel booked for right now. So basically, you're just basically saying, okay, when are autograph tickets going to go on sale?
right.
That's it. Like myself, you're an autograph and collector head, uh, you know, and
And
go
there
from
goes the
that.
rest of the money.
Well, I mean, the first time I saw you in Chicago, first day one, I mean, I was in line at Regal Roba, and I know you were going to go buy statues because I know you're in your cave, and I've been to your cave a couple of times of stuff that you purchased as well.
Yep.
So we're going to move on right now. The one thing that people have asked about is bag transfer. I know that we have Vancouver, Wretched Hive of Scum and Villainy. Wait, Vancouver, never mind. Listen, you hoser, what you talking about? So I know, for example, myself, like I'm going early because I want to go, obviously, at Disney. I want to. I'm a professional wrestling fan, so I want to go to the Roberto Steakhouse, or if I can go to the New Japan Pro Wrestling, a show, the dojo, store, while I'm over there. But because we are all will call, which is probably, honestly, I think after the trouble a lot of people had with London, the best thing they could have done with made us all will call for Japan.
Yeah.
Is the bag transfer. Some people are worried that it might take a couple of days. Some people are worried about it might take the same day. What's your take on time frame? Maybe you have some suggestions, maybe that you of places you want to research, or you can put down in the comments after the fact of whether or not can you book it at your hotel, or do you have to go through a third-party vendor in order to get your bag transfer?
Right. So first things first, when you land in Japan, let me do yourself a favor and set up a transfer to your hotel. I'm telling you that it's a long flight. The best thing is to get off the flight. Somebody's there in a car for you, throws your luggage in, and brings you directly to the hotel. You don't got to worry about trains. You don't got to worry about transferring anything. It's worth the probably, I don't know, 100 to $200. It's worth it just to get that transfer.
And I just want to let everybody know that I saw when I booked my hotel for Japan off booking.com, you can already book your card service. Right now, I saw that I can book it for like $77 US.
Yep.
From Naruto to downtown Tokyo.
Chiba, yeah, wherever. I mean, it's far worth it. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. If you do it any other way, God bless you, because you're going to be jumping on the trains and trying to figure out what train to go on the first time, especially if it's the first time you're in Japan. I'd rather just get my bearings straight inside of the hotel I'm in and go from there. Once you're in there and you do want to say you're going to stay in Tokyo, or you're going to go to Disney and you're going to stay in a hotel that's kind of nearby Disney, inside the hotel lobbies, they do have bag transfer. So right inside the hotel lobby, talk to the the concierge and ask them, how you go about. They might say, bring down your bags, the night before, and you go about your own way in the morning. You take your carry-on, jump on the train, you head over to where your hotel is, and probably half the time the bags are over there by the time you even get there. So they have it really down packed well there.
Do you know what the general price might be? Like, so people are looking out there. Have you researched that at all?
Probably it's per bag. So depending on the distance that they're going, I mean, I'm almost thinking it's probably like $50 a bag to transfer it to another hotel. But I mean, it's worth it. You do not want to be dragging bags through the train. Oh my God, that's like one of the biggest no-nos inside of Japan is, like the travelers who have giant bags and they're trying to get into these trains that are already packed, and it's just terrible. So
like even when I was in London, so when I got off at Heathrow, I know there was a direct train, the Elizabeth line, to where I was staying in Canary Wharf, and I only had my suitcase, I had a carry-on, I had my backpack, and I had a duffel bag full of stuff for Bunta Eve. And I was like, I'll take the train. It was fine, but didn't realize it was a 10-minute walk from where the train let off on the Elizabeth line, where they left off. And I had 3 bags, and I was around the corner from my hotel, and I had lugged this. Like, I mean, I was fine because I got the bag carry the wheelie, at the airport, but I didn't have that when I got off the tube.
Yeah,
I literally had to call an Uber to take me a 2-minute ride around the corner, just because I didn't have because my bags were way too heavy at that particular time. So I think, it's worth it at that particular time. I agree with you, especially if we're doing will call. Like, for example, I plan to check out my first hotel the Thursday morning and go directly to Madhari Masi to go get my tickets. Like, I don't want to stop at all. I want to, jump on the train, and get to Chiba as soon as possible after I wake up and, get myself situated. So just as something to think about from that. But would you say that maybe if you're dropping off your big suitcase and you have your carry-on wheelie, keep your carry-on wheelie with you, and that'll be fine for your clothes for next day kind of scenario?
Yeah, the carry-on is fine. I mean, I think you'd be fine doing that. And, and again, remember, you are going to be jet lagged bad. Like, that's 13 hours in the future. So you're going to feel that. And you're probably going to, I mean, I'm coming in on Wednesday. I'm probably going to be a mess Thursday and Friday. But that's the thing to keep in mind too with traveling is how much time, are you jumping right into checking out the city and checking out the sites, or are you going afterwards? So I'd rather feel I've been in enough cons where I walk around like a zombie anyway, so I don't think it would notice. So
we've done the count on both ends. We'll talk about after events, a little later in this broadcast. But the next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to move right along right now, is etiquette do's and don'ts. Let's talk.
So big do's and don'ts in Japan. Obviously, you probably have heard they do not tip in Japan. So do not leave a tip. It'll be very embarrassing for you because they will kind of come after you and give you back your money. So no tipping. It's absolutely no tipping in Japan. They're all very, in terms of like the language barrier and, having that etiquette, it's a society that, is very, you're not going to strike up conversations with, a stranger in like the inside the train. They're just not. Speaking of trains, don't talk on trains. Just keep it quiet. You'll see thousands and thousands of people in there and nothing. You won't hear anything. So
you with your crew talking about stuff, that's frowned upon.
Keep it low.
Okay.
Yep. They look at it as very rude to be interrupting somebody's travel. So you want to keep it low. You want to keep your voice down. I don't know if obviously probably some people have heard, they look at people with tattoos a little bit weird. So
yeah, let's go with that.
So keep anybody with the tattoos, just they're gonna look at you a little bit different. So they're not a big fan of tattoos. Some hotels won't even let people in the hotel who have tattoos. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, why is that? Because if you look at like stuff from like, obviously, maybe this is movie wise, but you're thinking about the Yakuza, and the Yakuza has like tattoos,
That's why. It's literally
really. I was kidding.
They literally look at people with tattoos as like they're in something to do with crime. So that's just the way they have always looked at tattoos. And, I think the young people there are starting to try to change it, but they look at tattoos as crime and, seedy kind of people. So, but again, like weird other things, you're not going to find trash cans a lot in the cities. Right, funny fact about that is simply because they had a bombing one time in Tokyo, and a trash can was used, and now they're just like, well, nope, we're just going to get rid of all the trash cans. So keep a good thing to bring with you on your trips is a little disposable bag. Right. Because that way what you can do is any trash you keep, you're going to walk around with. So put it in the bag, and then the next time you get to a convenience store, which are everywhere and are amazing, that's a whole nother show. But you can literally just drop off your trash in the convenience store. So
fantastic. No, that's absolutely great. So looking on to next, must-see options. Now, there's a lot of things we can tell you to go see. We're just going to touch upon it because there's a lot to talk about at this particular times. They just said public bathhouses turn you away. I particularly would never go to a public bathhouse. That's just me. But things to see, start researching. There's a lot of great shows out there of Americans. Like one show I can tell you right now, there's a group that's a Disney blogger called Ordinary Adventures, and they did a really great Japan, which actually I booked one of their hotels because I watched it on their show. So I want to give up to Hotel. Correct. I booked it just because I watched their show and did my research. I'm like, I'm booking there, and a lot of our VCN people are going to be going there. But it's really right downtown, easy to get to everybody, easy to get to the train stations. Especially if you're going, because I know they went to Disney from there. Yeah. There's like 2 or 3 stops, literally. But shows like that. I'll put over Ordinary Adventures for a lot of stuff. There's great shows out there for Disney, Disneyland, Tokyo Seas. There is, just to let you know, there is no hopper for parks. They don't have that. And one of the reasons why they don't have this, which you might not know this, is that Tokyo Disney is not owned by the Disney Corporation. It is licensed. It's owned by the government of Japan.
Same with Paris.
Yeah. But the thing is that I did hear people from Paris, they were able to use their cast passes from the United States there. If you're a cast member in the United States, you cannot use your cast pass to get to Japan. Yep. And unless you are staying at a neighboring hotel like the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel or the new Toy Story Hotel, you need to book your tickets for Disney and Seas before you even go to Japan.
60 days.
60 days.
60 days.
Cheap. So let you know, it's cheap. We're talking about going to these parks for $60 US. It's double that to go for one day to Epcot or to Magic Kingdom.
Yep.
So you can go for 2 days to a Disney park for the price of one day at one of the Florida parks, which is dirt cheap. But you need to book that. But I also want to plug right now that if you are going and you plan to be in Japan early, we have an event page. The Virtual Cantina Network will be at Disneyland Tokyo on the Wednesday and Thursday. Sorry, the Tuesday and Wednesday before celebration. So Tuesday we're going to do Seas. On Wednesday, we are doing Disneyland Tokyo. So if you'd like to join us, it's always a great time, with your VCN crew to go hit those parks, especially with Seas that actually has Star Tours. You want to be able to go there. And also, I'm stoked because the one ride that I'm seeing left and right is probably known as, besides Seas, is known as the best amusement park in the world. But at Disneyland, the Beauty and the Beast ride, and I watched it a couple of times, is the most awe-inspiring, beautiful ride ever.
Yeah.
Very. Yeah.
And like I said, make sure you, whatever day you're going to go back in the calendar 60 days, set an alarm, because here's a couple of things that are really going to affect all of us. There is that, one, we are real close to cherry blossom season, and we're really close to Golden Week, which is Golden Week, if you don't know, is all the Asian countries have their holiday. It's kind of like their spring break. So almost everybody goes on holiday during that time. We're going to be in Tokyo. So expect crowds, expect things to be sold out. Think ahead.
So if you're a member of our group and you're watching this video, first of all, thank you very much. But as Brad says, it'll be fun to hit the parks. Anytime you can hit the park with the VCN crew, it's going to be a good time. And we'll talk about the virtual Cantina family vacation and our trip to Disneyland in Cali next month in July. But we can do a whole episode on things you go with, but research that, because things like the Shibuya Sky or the Tokyo Tower, you're going to need to book in advance. Those are things that, if you want to hit, you're going to have to make sure that you are hitting it in time. 60 days seems to be a nice round number for all things like you want to visit from there. So language barriers. Now, I know a lot of the signs are half Japanese, half English over there, especially in the train stations, which is fantastic in that capacity. When I was in Italy, literally 2 years ago, which pictures from my brother's wedding just came up. I have an app called Translate that I would type in English, like I needed a lightning plug, and it plugged it out into Italian right there. And I showed to the. Would you say that utilizing Google Translate, the Translate app, when you're looking at a menu, for example, and it has the eyeglass, that'll translate for you right there, those are going to be your best friends? Or would you recommend doing, Babelfish or Duolingo or anything of that nature? I know you are, right now doing some language training yourself. Yeah. What do you recommend bare minimum? Let's just show that bare minimum.
I think bare minimum, if you're in Tokyo, you're going to probably be okay probably 60% of the time. So if you're in Tokyo, especially obviously Disney, stuff like that, they're going to have a lot of English translators or people who can speak English. Any of the big hotels will always have people at the front desk who can speak English. So anything that is, it's almost like I want to say anything that is large, you're probably going to be okay. It's when you go, if you're walking down a street in Shibuya and you see a little sign out front with a couple of pictures of, ramen, and there's no English, have your translator on your phone ready if you want to go in there. And I highly recommend doing that. Take, if you're in this kind of country, take a chance at, these little other stores that maybe they don't speak English. And I know it's going to be a little bit tough, but you're going to be able to have, like Spencer said, take a picture of Google Translate. It'll translate the characters for you. At the very least, you can point to stuff. A lot of the menus have pictures. So you're going to be able to point to the picture and say what you want. And, maybe you want to say, not spicy, or, no chicken or whatever. You can literally put that into Google Translate and you're okay. So I think there's ways to navigate it very easily.
So another thing we're always going to be worried about, and we worried about this when we're going to London, is weather. Now, we had perfect weather the week before Celebration. So even with a long sleeve tee, or like, for example, if you're in the Final Four of Virtual Cantina and you have one of our racers, which is short sleeve and you're only a short ride, you're okay. Would you say like a long sleeve tee, or if you're wearing a t-shirt, maybe like a hoodie is the way that's going to go in April next year?
Yeah, I think April, I think April for us is April almost for most of the northern United States. So it could be, it's actually not even the rainy season. The rainy season is in June and July. But April is going to be, probably, like you said, maybe around 60, probably would be a nice day in Tokyo. It is just like living in, near Boston. It's right on the water. So you get some pretty good gusts and winds coming through. So me personally, I'm going to just bring a hoodie with me and maybe a light jacket that has a rain hoodie. That's probably it. So.
Would you recommend maybe having like a travel umbrella with you?
Yep.
Like in your backpack?
Definitely. Definitely a little travel umbrella. And you'll see in Japan, they use umbrellas during the sunny times. So right. You'll see tons of umbrellas out all the time. So that's something you'll just get used to seeing.
Okay. So shipping your merch home. I know a lot of people might want to buy a lot of, sideshow collectibles if they have them over there, or if they're going to an anime store, which are everywhere. I mean, there's super malls of anime.
Yeah.
How is it easy to ship? It's not like we're talking about going to a FedEx office or a UPS over there.
Right. So there is a few places that, I would make note of in terms of if you walk out of the convention and you got just a ton of stuff that you need to box up and send out. There's a store called Don Quixote's. It's in Japan. It sells everything. But inside of Don Quixote's is a shipping department. And they will literally take all your stuff and, you end up paying for it and they'll ship it home for you. So you can use regular post offices too. The only problem with some post offices, you might be a pretty good language barrier in some, but like I said, they'll work with you. So, but I would do that honestly if you're going to be staying a little bit after the con. I'd try to get that out of the way as fast as possible, just to rid yourself of boxes and all that worry. And it's heading home, and then you'll be heading home probably a few days later.
Fantastic. So that's really all we had really right now for what Carl and I were talking about. So if you got a little bit extra questions at all, please put them below. Also, don't forget, we are going to be, this is going to be on demand on the Virtual Cantina Network, which is youtube.com/@Virtual Cantina Network. Also available on demand on our Facebook page. So if you have any comments or anything of that nature, Carl and I will go back, on the regular and just check it back. This will not be the last news desk that I do, at least, or, I might bring Carl in. But let me just talk right now about a couple of things that, I always recommend around Celebration. Celebration is really what you make of it. You can go by the entire schedule that Repops can give you and have a fantastic time. Or you watch outside your comfort zone, go to the hotel lobby, go to the bar, you never know who will be there. Or go to outside events outside of Celebration. You can literally burn the candle at both ends if you want to. I know that it probably is going to be a 501st bash one night. Whether that'll be public or not, I don't know at this particular time. But the bash show is great. The Virtual Cantina Network already announced that we will be running an event the Thursday night, the night before Celebration. I can't announce what it's going to be yet. But there will be a Virtual Cantina event the night before Celebration because it's Celebration Eve, and that's our night. So we hope you will join us for that. There is a placeholder event page already set up on our group. So make sure that you take advantage of that and come and have a few drinks with us, relax, have some fun as we are getting ready for Celebration. Because if you're going for a first time and you come to an event, you will meet up with some of our members and you'll be online with people and be like, "Oh, cool! I saw you last night. We did shots of sake. We had a Kirin together, Sapporo, whatever, Kampai. Just got ready together." And that's the best thing about what I think what a group does is that it brings people together that you might not even know and realize that you have a friend in every city, in every state, in every country, just because of that. And don't be frightened about talking to people online in celebration, because fact is that I've met so many members just hanging out online for a guest, right off the bat. Because you're staying there for hours. It's not like we're talking about the overnights when we talked about in Anaheim. I mean, in Orlando, but still waiting in line. Just don't be afraid to talk to people and get to know them. So I will absolutely recommend that if you are in town on Thursday night, make sure you come to our event. We will probably announce what we are doing at the tail end of the virtual Cantina family vacation that is happening this summer. So if you are in California or you want to go, we have 19 tickets available for sale right now until tomorrow afternoon, Eastern time, that you can join for all the trips, whether it be from LA to Anaheim to San Francisco, with stops in between, with over 30 actors and crew from Star Wars joining us. And then at the end, we are going to announce what our plans are for Japan. So we'll do it live on our page. We'll do a live video, but we'll also announce it live at the event. But we will be in Japan the night before celebration. So please ask questions about that. One thing also as well, and I'm going to put this up, is we've already released our first Japanese t-shirt, which actually says Virtual Cantina right there. Is available at tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina. So if you're something you're interested in, we'll have a number of other t-shirts and other properties available. We got a couple of other things in the works right now. Plus, also, we will have a racer. Racers, we will have a Japanese racer for the virtual Cantina for that. Carl, you've been to a number of celebrations, and obviously you've been to our flagship events, Bunta Eve. What in particular, and I'm going to do some shilling right now, what has in particular gone to other events but gone to virtual Cantina events, has it helped you in your celebration time?
So I think it also it gives you almost a pre-show kind of feeling. It's like, I don't think now of going to a celebration without going to the VCN party beforehand. It just feels like that's what you do before celebration now. So now you literally just get ready to, go that night, and you have the party to go to, which you're going to see, a lot of like-minded fans. You're going to end up meeting a lot of people. There'll be surprise guests there. So you really, to me, that's one of the must-dos on that Thursday night.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. But like I said, other events are going to come up, whether it be, we don't know whether or not they're going to do Disney Night, which they do in Orlando and Anaheim. We don't know that yet. Whether there's a Bash or Rebel Legion have events. Or D23 might have events. I know in London, they did a special showing of Return of the Jedi at a cinema in London. But just things to be, excited about. Now, first and foremost, Carl, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know that right after we did our last news desk, you were like, you wanted to come onto the show and pass on some of the knowledge that you did. So I appreciate that. And if anybody's on social media right now, where could they find you?
And Instagram, it's Red5Nord. So I'll obviously reach out. I will have you join me up, and we can discuss anything with Japan or celebration, or I'm pretty outgoing in terms of being around lots of con goers. So
absolutely. And I met Carl, locally at cons, and we went to, Chicago together. And then, Carl and I still go to cons together locally and talk about going to cons all the time. So reach out, you can always reach out to me, at the Virtual Cantina Network. I just posted all of our handles, and you can reach out to me right there. I want to plug right now that, obviously, if you're in California or if you want to join us on a trip, reach out to us, to get a ticket or show up at any of our events. Our events in California for the Bunta E special editions are free to get in. So come have some dinner, have some drinks, get some autographs. Now, there will be prices for autographs while we are there. So those will come up soon, but I just want to plug as well that we will have a very special, and I can find the sign for that. Do I have it? Is it even here? No, it's not this one. I can't find the one I want. Okay, so we're doing a show, the return of Celebrating Autographs. Celebrating Autographs is brought to you by one of my business partners, which is Frank Rich from Star Wars Autograph News. And usually before Celebration, he'll go over the guests, their pricing, what the properties have been, what kind of things you could potentially bring, what properties to bring autographs for, or if they have 8x10s on the table, if they release them in advance. There it is, right above what I want it to be. Frank and also our programming director for the Virtual Cantina Network, Mark Von Olin, will be joining us in 2 weeks on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific to discuss all the actors and crew that are going to be showing up at Bunta E Special Edition in California, whether it be at Hollywood, at Scum and Villainy Cantina, in Fullerton, which is outside of Anaheim, at Big's Bar and Grill, or if we're going to be in San Francisco at Ireland's 32. So keep an eye out for all of that. It's going to be an absolutely incredible time. And we're going to also release some information about the trips that you don't know yet. Or you can just meet up with us at Disneyland on the Wednesday before, Wednesday while we're there, July 31st. We're going to Disneyland. Literally last night, we were booking our August Cantinas, our Savvies, we're 60 days out before we're going to be there. But we'd love for you to join us. We do have meetups next week at Fan Expo Dallas, which will be announced tonight. In 2 weeks, we have Fan Expo Boston, which we're going to have a meetup on the Saturday night, which I'll be hosting as well with our our event director, Kathy Chase. And we're just very excited. So once again, Carl, domo arigato gozaimasu.
Sayonara.
Yes. So once again, thank you very much, Carl, for joining us tonight. Thank you very much for joining us as part of the Virtual Cantina Network. So from Carl, from Spencer, we'd like to say, may the force be with you.